Time has come once again to speak as witches and wizards and spirits do. I am Daniel Dubois,
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone.
and we're your hosts for the Think Like a Wizard podcast. Yeah, I'm off a little bit. Anyways, so welcome to season 6, episode 6, Ceridwen and Mut.
I was
All right.
really trying to think of a way to get another six in there. I kind of like the triple sixes, but anyway.
Yeah. Maybe we'll save that for a special episode.
Hmm,
It
it's
would be
just a
interesting.
little thing. I kind of like the 666, probably because it upsets so many people, which
Well,
is
that's the
silly,
thing, right?
really. But there you go.
All right, just had to deal with that real quick. It was that, or someone was going to come into the house while I was recording.
Ah,
I might as well deal with that right away. So, yes. So, interesting weeks this week so far. I'm going to let you go first, Michaela, so you can explain everything.
sure. Well, I could do my best. So
Yes.
Ceridwen is Welsh, and she is the mother of Taliesin, who was a bard and a poet. And if you know anything about Welsh history, then the name will not be a surprise. So Ceridwen is also a triple goddess. So think Hecate. Some people would say Lilith also. But she's the maiden, the mother, the crone. So this seems to be a feature for me right now, with representing the cyclical nature of life, the life, death, rebirth. Um, she has great power, great wisdom, and she does not mess around. So if you are looking into Ceridwen and you want to liaise with her, work with her, whatever it is, be aware that this woman is, this mother goddess takes no prisoners. Like she's just she doesn't mess around. So if you start getting into stuff, then know that you're in for the full experience. This is not for the faint of heart.
Hmm. So, that's actually a common theme this week, then mothers, because Mut is the mother of the cosmos, not just the mother of the gods. So, it's a mother heavy day today. But I had a pretty interesting week, even though, like I said, right, I told Michaela before the episode. So, Moot and I cast a spell, and then you had to simmer for the week, but it was a spell about opening people up to the cosmos. So I, of course, was the proving ground, and it's
Mhm.
being opened up to the cosmos is quite a thing. Like because you see,
I'm
it's like
laughing because
yeah,
that's such a simple sentence,
yeah,
but like think about what you just said.
yeah.
That yeah, that is a pretty big thing. That's like cosmically massive.
Yeah. Well, because one of the big lessons is that the cosmos is a mirror to you, just like you're a mirror to the cosmos. So when you're opened up to the cosmos, you're opened up to a reflection of yourself from an outside perspective at the same time as a similar perspective. That's the right way to word that. A mirror is an outside perspective. It reflects you, but it's still an outside perspective.
Not sure about that. I'm sitting with that for a minute
Mm,
because a mirror reflects you, yes, but it's still the perspective you look at, you look through,
mm,
that will give you the information.
right.
So expand, explore. I'm interested.
All right. Well, so a mirror can have flaws in it, therefore distorting the reflection, as an
Mhm,
example, right?
mhm.
And you're still subject to outside forces, the amount of lighting that's there to see. I'm trying to think. It's a whole cosmic thing there. You got to get on the vibe, but it's not an exact match of who you are. Because like when you look at yourself in the mirror and you see pictures of yourself, which essentially used to work on the same similar technology, except there's a chemical additional to it. But you're seeing yourself from the outside. So whether it's not, even if just to say it's a way of looking at you that you don't ever get to see.
True. Now, I can go with the photographs
Right.
more than the mirror, even because with photographs, that's usually, a person has a particular image of themselves,
Hmm.
and then someone takes a photograph and shows them,
Right.
and now you see a different thing, and that's typically, if in your capacity as a wild fit coach,
Mm. Right.
typically the point that a person will come up with when they say, "Oh, I realized I needed to lose weight when,"
Yeah.
and very often it's when I saw the family photos or
Mm.
when I saw the
Yeah.
photo from da da da, because it doesn't hide anything
Right.
and it's just there looking at you.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that one lands even better than the mirror because it's just
Mm.
it you're there in all your glory, like whether you like it or not. And you
Yeah.
can't not look at bits, right? And whatever perspective
Right.
the photograph was taken from, whatever angle,
Hmm.
it's still there. And it's not telling you anything. Like it's not giving you an interpretation. It just is.
Right.
So maybe that, I don't know. I'm just offering that as my thought of a comparison, if you will, to the experience of getting a new perspective on yourself.
Right. Well, I think that's the basic message is that when you view yourself reflected in the cosmos, it's a new perspective on yourself.
Mm. So what did you learn?
Me,
Mm.
I learned I have boundaries.
Boundaries are good.
Right. That's one of the things I learned. I learned I am willing to, no, that's not the right way to go about it. I have boundaries. And even if I am open-minded enough to try to circumvent my boundaries, some of those boundaries exist for a reason. Or I should put it like this. This isn't going to be a little bit complicated, but that's fine. So when you do magic, you are permitted to maintain yourself, who you are, your definition, who you are. Now,
Okay.
spirits will test that, not even necessarily with the idea of testing, but just as a, will you do this? Will you do this? If you want this, are you willing to do this? And then you have to decide how far you want to go with your magic and what directions you want to go in. Your intentions still matter, was still is what was reflected to me. So even though I'm open to doing whatever's needed, I still have a core of who I am and that definition that I still don't want to violate. That's what I learned about myself this week.
Something that just dropped in from to me that's
Right.
for you is be very careful when you are stating out loud or
Hmm.
thinking internally that you're prepared to do whatever is needed.
Right.
Because sometimes the ask might be bigger than you can
Yes.
channel
That's what I'm
or
getting at.
hold. Right. So you be very careful with where you
Hmm.
say that and how you operate from that place
Right.
because where you're creating from will show up in what you create,
Right.
right? So the space you're in, you clean that a little, make sure that you're not opening yourself up to whatever is needed. Because you might not be in the right space for that. That could be a
Right.
big thing.
that is my lesson of the week of being open to the cosmos. Actually, it's been
Okay.
something I've been repeating for the last 2 weeks to people. Help has to be helpful, and if you're not the person to help in this situation, step away. Make room for someone else who can come in and help. So, as in, if this is not your magic to do, it's not your magic to do. Step out of the way, let someone else do that magic.
And go find the one that is for you,
Yeah,
right? Because if the thing you're looking at or the thing you want to do is not actually for you, that's cool. Turn around, look in a different direction because something else is, right? We're not just no dead end. There's nothing. It's like
right.
that's not, but what else is?
Yes, that's what I was trying to get at. Again, I'll say it again. This the joy of having more than one person on the podcast and why a discussion-based thing is better because we throw in ideas and then the other person can help refine the idea through conversation, which was also kind of
Yes.
the point of last week when we were discussing the idea of that the person in opposition to you is not necessarily your opponent. They might just be helping you refine something you're trying to figure out, and you for them, the same thing. You're just coming at it from different perspectives. And instead of starting with hostility, I mean, because at some point, someone can be your enemy. Like, someone could have hostile intention towards you, but just on the basis that they don't agree with you doesn't make them your enemy.
A couple of things came up. One
Oh,
is the mirror piece that you were talking about
uh,
earlier. That's what having two people doing this podcast does,
right.
because I reflect back to you what I heard you say. I reflect back to you what came up when you said what you said, and vice versa. So that gives that different
Mm-hmm.
perspective, right? Just, well, when you said that, this dropped in, and when you said this, that came up. So that was kind of significant. And the other thing will have to come back to me because it just disappeared on the wind.
Right.
But it'll come back.
May not be important at the time. It is interesting though
It's
today.
it's
Yeah,
it's something that needs to come forward, but obviously now is not the right time.
right.
So, but it will show up. I
I
will
will add
suddenly
this.
have an aha.
Hmm. I was talking with my brother-in-law today because I was helping him pull his dock out. So yeah, got into the water today. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. We did do it as late as November one time, which here could also mean snow, but we didn't have snow, so at the time. But we can have snow in November. Actually, winter can start at the end of October here, so we can actually literally go like half a year with snow.
Yeah, yeah. I've lived in Maine and I've lived
Yeah,
in Ottawa, and both places can be snow for a good long while.
yeah. So, but he was asking me, he says, "Oh, so what's, the topic for today on the podcast?" And I said, "Well," and I kind of went, I was like, "Well, I don't plan these anymore." So I said, "There's no specific topic," but I said, the trend this year is about, really getting to know yourself and, really being yourself. But also, we're at a point where it's like you have to stand up for yourself, not just be yourself, but like actually stand up and be counted for, because the decisions you make now have consequences on you in the future and will kind of start limiting your path. So I said today will probably be another thing regarding that, or at least expanding on it. So,
And the decisions you refuse to make
mhm,
are nonetheless just as significant in your life path. And you can't, here's the thing, you can't escape, right? So if by you can't escape need to make a decision.
right.
And no decision is still a decision.
Hmm.
So there is no way for you to not decide when you're choosing your path. So for the listener, I'm getting that it's also for you.
Hmm.
Wherever there is a question, there is also a decision to be made,
Right.
and you need to spend time reflecting. So I think that word's going to come up a lot today. You need to spend time
Hmm.
reflecting on what is your highest and best choice given what you know and the circumstances that you have. And that can be in the material plane, it can also be in the magical world. What is your best course of action right now and why? And then where do you feel that? Like in your personal knowing in your body. If it's all in your head, you're in the wrong place.
Right.
So is it calling to you in a way that you feel drawn? If yes, then that is probably your decision. But not making a decision does not get you a free pass.
Right. There's a lot of weight behind that sentence.
Hmm.
Not making a decision is a decision.
Yep. And there is no free pass. You might desperately want
Hmm.
one. And the more desperately you want one, the more you're going to discover that it doesn't exist. You can't have it.
Right. I had words there. We're close to something,
Mhm.
but we
Hmm.
haven't quite hit it yet.
I woke up feeling that this morning that there's something so on the periphery that's like just waiting to drop in. And I know it's going to be huge when it does.
Hmm.
I can tell. It's circling. It's been circling for a while.
Well, I'll throw this out there and we'll see where it goes. I'm starting to feel like we're in competition with something.
Competition.
I say
I don't know.
competition.
It could be. It could be. The what I'm getting is
Hmm.
that there's something that's circling, waiting for the right time. And
Right.
the right time is a state of readiness.
Hmm.
That just dropped in. That's what it's waiting for. And I can't push that or force it or make it be a thing. I simply have to wait until the time, the readiness is correct, and then that massive thing that's circling is going to drop in, and I just have to be uh, ready to handle it, whatever it is, because it's pretty freaking huge.
Right. You know what I want to tackle now? So obviously the way we're doing things this season has changed as to what we've been doing before. This is more a time of action than it is a time of just sharing information. And what I'm starting to notice is that the spirits we're working with, well, I could say they're pushing it, obviously, because that's what they're looking for. But what I'm getting at is we're not doing there's no longer a formality with who they are or, and how we're introducing them. We're saying, okay, here's the person. And then we jump right onto the topic of, okay, this is what needs to be done, kind of a thing. And then they're here in the sense of, okay, I don't need you to talk about me. What I need you to do is to do what I have to get the information I have to give you, or I need you to share things. I don't need you to linger on me or talk me up. I need you to share.
Right.
Because I'm not very familiar with Ceridwen, but I also know that there's no push to really sit here and focus on her, other than the stuff she's trying to get through.
Yeah, it's more of the impression that I'm getting is that it's more of a, for the right person, there
Mm,
will be a spark of recognition. There will be oh yes, let me go and explore that. Or, ah, I've heard that name before. Like there's
mm,
something, because Ceridwen is, even though my mom was, in Wales for many, many
right,
years and steeped in the Welsh mythologies, and there are a lot of witches in Wales, like Welsh
right,
Hills, full of witches. Full. Known for it, has been for the
mm,
longest time. Um, Morgana Le Fay, for
mm,
example, Welsh.
right,
Um, there's a lot of Welsh mythology there, but I've never really been particularly drawn to explore the goddesses at all from that region. It simply hasn't called. There's no reason not to.
right,
So to be called was interesting to me. It was like, oh, right, not what I expected. And when she first appeared, she was shrouded. Like I could not see
oh,
who
yeah,
it was. And it wasn't particularly a black shroud or a white shroud. It was like, I guess, gray, but the kind of shadow.
Mm.
right? It was a shadow shroud and not something I could put a color to particularly. Um, that's about as close as I can get. And I had no idea what I'd got there. Um, but then, the whole triple goddess piece started coming forward. And so,
Mm.
my first thought is Hecate, but nope, not Hecate. And keep going, keep going.
Mm.
Ceridwen is actually the goddess or the witch associated with the cauldron
No, eh?
because yeah, she created, so she had two children, and her first one was beautiful and wonderful and all the good things. And the son that followed was hideous and, just but ugly, nothing to redeem him. So she wanted him to have wisdom and knowing and, all the good things. And so
Mm-hmm.
she created a spell. Now, you think doing a spell and waiting for a week is a
Mm.
while. Well, hers took a year, and
Mm.
the spell was in a cauldron and it had to be stirred continuously. So she hired a boy by the name of Gwion, I think. Is that how you say it? Gwion?
Mm.
And he stirred this pot dutifully all the time. And one day, before the spell was due to be complete, as he was stirring, 3 drops of this scalding liquid fell
Mm.
on his thumb, and he sucked his thumb,
Oh, yeah.
and he received all of the wisdom that was meant for her son. So, because he knew everything about everything, he had a lot of knowing,
Right.
he took off running. And he shape-shifted and she
Mm.
shape-shifted as she chased him because she realized what had happened. And long story short is eventually he shape-shifted into a grain of wheat, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was, and she shape-shifted into a bird and ate him.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the end of him. Meanwhile, the spell that she'd been brewing for a whole year turned to poison, so
Mm.
she couldn't use it. Later, she became pregnant again, and she knew that it was Gwion
No way.
coming back again. And when he was born, he became the great poet and bard Taliesin. This
Mm.
is the Welsh mythology as best I understand it. But the cauldron is a big feature here. It's mostly where it appears is Ceridwen, and it's also symbolic of the womb, the rounded shape and so on.
Right.
So this is the creation of deep and important spells, big deal in pagan practices. Um, she is, kind and loving. She wants her son to have all the best things, and so she's busy creating it for him. And she's also utterly vengeful when required to be,
Right.
such as when she turns into the bird and eats
Mm.
Gwion as a grain of wheat. So, she's strong. There's a lot going on there. Think Dark Moon, um, The Fool's Journey, if you're looking at tarot cards.
Right.
Ceridwen shows up there. Um, what else? New Moon, Dark Moon, New Moon. Mm, let's see if there's anything else. I think those are the main things for her. Anyway, there's, when everything is lost, there's still rebirth and hope. There's the
Right.
potential for rebirth, which can produce something amazing. Like Gwion then became Taliesin, who's the bard and the poet. That's what I got for you from this, because the
Mm.
tale of Taliesin is well known, at least in Wales and I think the British Isles, but don't know outside.
It sounds familiar, but I'm not going to say I know it.
Well, if you think Merlin and you
Mm.
you kind of move along those lines, you're in the right area.
Mm. Yeah. So here's what I'm getting while you were speaking. For people practicing magic right now, it's time to cement your magic to choose your path.
Mm.
You had said in an
Yeah.
earlier episode not too long ago, also, right? Start looking at the spirits you're working with, like to choose, to start making choices.
Yeah. And don't try and force it, because if a particular one doesn't call to you, then there's nothing there for you in that path, right? It's not your door to open. Turn around
Mm,
and find the one that is. And there's no, doesn't matter what it is, right? Like there's no sort of, oh, mine's better than yours or any of this
mm.
nonsense. Like, no, 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 no. If you're still in that viewpoint, then maybe now is not the time.
And
Maybe you need to
that's
be
really a
more
big one, right?
nurturing first.
Yeah, because when you know yourself and who you are, it's not about what anyone else has. It's about what you have.
Mm-mm. Not at all, no.
Mm,
But you might start to find others who are on a similar path,
right,
and that can be helpful in that, just like on this podcast, when you've got combinations of practice, if you will, it becomes stronger.
right.
That's the nature of how we are. So if you think of human beings that as soul fragments, right? We're all
Mm,
souls that are in on this physical plane. But when we return to whence we return, we're not those individual pieces anymore. We're like leaves on a tree. We all belong to the same tree. It's, I guess what I'm trying to say is the more of you there is, the better.
right.
So
Also along
long
those
as you're
lines, yeah,
definitely on the same path,
yeah.
right? Like
Along
you're
those,
pulling for the same reasons.
right. Along those lines, I'm going to amend my statement of saying I think we're in competition with someone or something. It's not competition. It's right now we're heading to the same path. I'm reading it as competition, but it's not competition. To refine the statement,
Uh-huh. Well, that's part of the process, right? Like
right?
people are getting to hear the process in real time because competition didn't land for me, but it was a waiting, and there's a readiness to receive the awareness that needs to happen,
Right.
which cannot be pushed. And I don't know what it's going to take for me to get there. I have no idea, and it's just got to be what
I'll
it
give you the
is.
visual I have in my head. So two things on the same course, heading in the same direction, and at some point, to be dramatic, will collide. But it's not a collision; it's a merging. But part of my brain is still looking at it as a competition, and therefore a collision. And
Hmm.
so part of my brain is trying to put the brakes on and going, whoa,
So
whoa, whoa. Yeah,
that's a great place for you to focus and
right.
do some work, right?
Yeah,
Why why do you perceive it as competition? And what's it like when you put that down and pick up the other belief of convergence rather than
right,
competition? Right. This is in my nature to explore those kind of
right.
things. Like, what happens if it's not this, it's that? What happens if you look at it that way and
Yeah,
not the other way? And that's how I roll through life. So I can't help but do that.
right. What did it say in the article you shared today? The brain detective?
Yep. The brain detective. Absolutely, because I love to sleuth into where people's stories come from, where their ideas are built, and in what way is it showing up?
Right.
Because whatever you believe, whatever you follow, whatever you take as being true will show up in appropriate ways in your life. So
Right.
by appropriate, I don't mean good. I mean appropriate for the perspective. So,
Yes.
it's really good to examine those things and be like, okay, so what have we got here? Where did it come from? Whose is it? Does it serve me?
It's
Great
funny,
questions to ask yourself.
yeah, when you put it that way, I can see why some people are frustrated when they speak with me because I would use the word appropriate because I don't mean it'll turn out necessarily the way you want it to, or it'll necessarily be how you idealize it. It'll be the way it needs to be. So I'll use terms like appropriate instead of good or instead of bad. And then some
Right.
people get frustrated. I'm like, well, it's appropriate, and that's all it is. It's the only judgment I'm giving you. It's appropriate.
Yeah, it follows on logically,
Right.
naturally, automatically.
Mm.
It's action consequence. It's a given. That's those are the different ways I can say it, but appropriate seem to cover it. So
You know what? I don't know if this is weird to say or if it's, well, now I'm
what on this
mischaracterizing it.
podcast?
Yeah, no, no, no. What I'm saying for myself is I'm wondering if the idea of being very clear on my boundaries when I work with spirits is a new venue to pursue.
Well, reflecting it back at you,
Mm,
you said that you've been learning about boundaries,
right,
and then a short while later, you also said
mm,
that you're here to do whatever is needed
right,
to do. Words to that effect, which is not a boundary.
right,
It's absent of boundaries. It's actually
right,
the antithesis of a boundary. It is the opposite. There is no boundary. So you removed all boundaries around that statement. So I'm going to say this is a big wooden door with a very heavy
mm,
lock and a big ass key sticking out of it. And it's up to you to unlock that door and go check what's on the other side
mm,
because there's something significant there with where you think you have boundaries and don't, where
right,
you need them, and where you're okay to let it ride if that's your choice. But we're back to it's a choice. It's
right.
not that you abdicate responsibility because you can't. You can try, but you can't. It
Well,
won't
I
go
say
away.
that, yeah, because some in the work I did this week with Moot, even though I had said I was open to doing things and I was open to let boundaries slide to do what needs to be done, what I learned is that's not true. That's not a true statement,
Mm.
basically.
Mhm. And that's where it's really good to start looking, well, why did I say that? Because when you say it out
Yeah,
loud, it's coming from somewhere,
right.
right? Like you mean it, you said it, it's coming from somewhere.
Hmm.
So that's an interesting avenue of exploration, I would say, because, it's when you say things without thinking them through,
Right,
that is your subconscious talking. And that's really important to know because your subconscious is what runs the show.
right. Well, because like, I mean, I'm sitting here telling people to go where they need to go and to be very clear on what they want, and yet I'm doing the opposite of going, yeah, whatever.
Right.
But
Uh-huh.
the less, because the imagery I'm getting about this is the more I leave open boundaries, the less energy can be focused.
And you know what I got was that mirror just popped up and
Mm.
said, have a look at yourself.
Yeah,
Like, what are you doing here? Where are your boundaries?
right.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Well,
because the
I
thing
think
is, right?
that's the whole thing for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm totally taking advantage of this particular episode to work on some stuff,
Cool.
what I've learned this week. So, what I'm getting, what's kind of flowing out of me here is the idea that so we have our strengths and our weaknesses, but if I keep working in a place of my weaknesses, how is that helping?
Weaknesses are there to
Mm,
be challenged,
right,
transmuted, and moved on from,
right,
none of which implies sitting in it.
right.
And that's like with human design work, the whole point is
Mm,
to figure out where your energy flows, where it
mm,
doesn't flow so well, how to work with what's there. And, so what's perceived as a weakness isn't necessarily a weakness, it's just not your strength.
yeah.
And if you focus more on the strength and undo the stories that
Hmm.
you've accepted in the past, you can move on.
Yeah. This is where I'm starting to get to the point in my life where I'm starting to find where language fails, or at least where my use of
Mm,
language fails, if nothing else. Because it's like I have words to use, but these words don't have the meaning I want them to have.
hmm
Like saying weakness, it just means that that's not where the energy flows strongest through me. It flows strongest through me in one direction, and what I'm basically doing is putting all my energy where it doesn't flow the strongest instead of where it flows the strongest.
hmm
So I'm using the word weakness when I just really mean where this is not my strong suit for doing things. And yes, I recognize at some point you have to do things that aren't your strong suit. But right now, that's not what I'm being asked for. But that's still what I'm doing
Right. Hmm.
right now.
And
And it's not just me, we're all being asked to put our energies to where we're our strongest.
well, funnily enough,
Mm,
Ceridwen is she changes and renews people in
right.
unforeseen ways. So, where a character develops and ends up is not going to be necessarily expected. So,
Right.
Ceridwen, for example, she starts out as being, if you begin with the story of where she's chasing Queen, she's a pursuer, she's
Mm,
vengeful, she's pissed as hell. She's like, she's going to go get this guy because he's just
mm,
totaled the spell that she spent a year
right.
on, and now her hideous son is still hideous,
Mm,
right? But then at the end of her story, she is giving birth to a bard and poet who is
mm,
considered a great contribution to
mm,
society and so on. And she's nurturing.
right. Yeah. That's actually an
So,
interesting story theme. I like the idea of the thing you pursued to destroy is now the thing you nurture and protect. Because now
right,
she's the mother of the person she destroyed.
exactly. So, where she began is not where she ended up.
Hmm.
There was a change of direction, a change of fortitude, a change of outcome. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So I think that's a whole lot of it's not necessarily what it seems. Again, which has been a theme
Right.
for the longest time.
Right. So what I'm getting, if I'm understanding this correctly, for me anyways, my time of saying I'll do whatever it takes, that time is coming to an end. It's now the time to focus where I am. It's time to focus where I need to focus. Those are the words coming out because strong and weak aren't the ideal words. So I need to focus.
Correct.
I need to define and focus. I'm going to use the words where I'm strongest or I'm most aligned and most attuned to.
There you go.
There we go.
That's better.
Yeah.
By the way, Ceridwen, as you started talking, she just kicked that door shut.
No.
And what I get from the booting
Mm,
the door shut, and she did it with some force, was not it. She did that as you said, I'm getting to the point of not doing that anymore.
mm,
And what I got from the door slamming shut with her boot behind it was, no, you're not. You have arrived. It is now.
mm.
You're not
Yeah.
getting to the point you were there.
Well,
So that was very clear.
yeah.
That was a wood splintering. Yeah, this is we're talking big thick door. That was a wood
Right.
splintering boot.
And I knew by the way I worded it,
Aha.
that sentence fell into what I would normally call weasel wording, like weasel words. I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
not
It
own
did.
something. Yeah.
It did.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it
trying to
did.
own the idea I'm trying to put forward. So I'm giving myself
Hmm.
plausible deniability by saying I'm getting there. I'm not there yet, so I can
Right.
still escape and you know,
And as you said, I'm getting there.
yeah,
Oof,
yeah,
that door just
yeah.
big crack down it. No, that was a no, you're not.
Mm,
That was very clear, and that was straight up for you.
yeah,
Ooh, such a nice door too, and now it's got a bloody great crack in it. Oh well, it is what it is.
that's right. Everything has its time cycles.
Yeah, she was prepared to splinter it to make a point.
Yeah. Well, I think I kind of did shut a door when I posted the video this week of talking about manifestation and the void. I probably closed a few doors there.
Well, I imagine just by showing up as
Mm,
you show up, showing up as I show up,
right.
doors closed, other doors open, whatevs.
because that's also a big thing going forward now. It's like I'm closing a lot of doors, old doors that were part of like me trying to be everything or being available to everything.
Yeah, you really are done with that. She's
Yeah.
like, she's putting kindling around the bottom of the door. For crying out loud, would you please accept it?
Yeah.
There's a lot of yeah, okay, that's
Well, you know,
that avenue is gone.
yeah. And I'm going to say this, and this for the listeners especially. So when I talked about, I was saying like to me, normally when so my maternal grandmother, when she passed, the whole thing was if there was a feather present, like showed up out of nowhere, that was her saying she was around. And so I kind of did the philosophy of, well, yeah, but spirits can just direct your attention to something instead of manifesting something. Why not just direct your attention to something that's already there, right? And but given my work with the void, where the void is infinite potential just waiting to be manifested, or to use quantum physics, waiting to be observed, right? A
Mhm.
particle is a
Which is
wave until it's
same thing.
observed, right? So then
Same
as I'm
thing.
thinking about it, it's like, well, what's preventing something from being manifested, right? Just because the universe might be mostly formed, because I actually heard a physicist say this, a theoretical physicist say that the universe isn't completely formed yet, and that's why we have paranormal phenomena. And then he does a lot of work in the field, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. But kind of thinking about the void thing, then you know, you should theoretically be able to manifest something. Then, you know,
We do it all the time.
right? So that was kind of my thing. I'm like, is this like, did I just open a new door in, my magical practice, actually manifesting things?
Mhm. Well, you do manifest. I
Yeah.
mean, we all do because think of it this way. I've said this one before, but the time seems right to bring it up again, which is if you look at political division, right? In the US right now, what we have is a division of epic proportions. And it's not really politics at this point. It's a question of humanity and inhumanity and a bunch of nuances around that. But that's basically where we're going. Do people have rights or do they not? Is it reserved for certain people? Now, what's happening in each of those sides of the canyon, if you will, the people there are manifesting their version of reality. They're
Mhm.
manifesting what's true for them. Their perspective is being shown to them, a bit like you would think from a mirror or something, but
Right.
it's they perceive, you know, danger, they perceive jobs missing or whatever, they have a whole repertoire of
Hmm.
what is true. And that is what they see. And that is what they live in. That is their experience. And
Right.
then you have the other side of the canyon with their view and what they're living in and what they perceive. And it's getting rocked right now by things that are happening that aren't supposed to happen, that are supposed to have barriers in place to prevent them from happening, and yet none of it's true. None of those
Hmm.
things matter right now. So we're getting walls broken down in an unpredictable way, and people on each side are seeing that differently. But the reality that they envisage is what they're living in. They're
Right.
manifesting it all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Because I was going to say, right, back to the idea of it's not what you think it is. Manifesting doesn't mean necessarily that I sat here and concentrated for an hour and a bar of gold popped up. There's also all the little subtle things in life that happen that you manifest.
Well, the thing with manifesting is
Mm.
okay,
Mm.
reticular activating system,
Right.
favorite part of the brain,
Hmm.
that thing gives you more of what you focus on.
Right.
And that's the start of manifesting. Because when you're focusing on something, you start to behave in a particular way that gets you more of that thing. It gets you more into what you're focusing on. So your brain, your subconscious brain, is going to give you the things to do to get you where you're trying to manifest, right?
Right.
And so if your focus is scattered because you're open for whatever's needed, then you can't get there because your focus is going through a sieve. Like it's powder all over the
Right.
place. And the sieve needs to go away, and you just get one solid scoop and put that where it's going. That's your focus and your attention, which will bring the manifestation. And that just landed exactly how I gave it to you.
Mm. And that's good.
So there's a lot of, yeah, now is absolute, that door is on fire. Now is the time for you and whoever is resonating with this episode um to cut the crap and get on with it.
Right.
That's what I'm getting. Cut the crap and just do the thing because you can't not.
Right. So I'm pointing to the third. What would be your third eye there on your forehead for you listeners?
Pineal gland.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's like doing stuff right now.
Hmm. You may have some very fun dreams tonight.
Here's what I'm seeing right now. Okay, right now there's an oni kicking, or not
Hmm.
kicking, but tinkering with my third eye.
Hmm. Maybe waking it up a little, cleaning it
Yeah,
up. Don't know.
but it's like full on, like not exactly resembling a painting looking oni. You know, the wild hair and the horns and the big eyes and the kind of thing and a beard. This one's got a full beard, tinkering around. It's interesting, but there's activity going on.
Mhm.
For a second there, I thought it might be Ryobu showing up as Putin, but no, it's not. It's an Oni. I don't
Okay.
usually think of Onis as someone trying to open you to wisdom. They're usually more the punishers of evildoers. But it's not like, again, it's not what you think it is.
And the interpretation could show
Right,
itself later down the line, right? Like maybe there's okay, you've done enough of the open to everything, no
right.
barriers. Time to stop messing around and pick a choice,
Yeah,
which is really interesting for the future episodes because who knows what that shows up like.
right.
I don't know. I just go with what comes up.
Yeah. The Oni
That's
is
how I
expanding
roll.
it, which is interesting. But I'm trying to think who was the last
Yes,
spirit I
but is
worked
it
with?
expanding? Is it expanding in a particular way,
Oh,
a
it's opening it
particular
wider.
direction, a particular focus?
It's
Yes,
opening it wider. Yeah.
but is it in one focus or is it scattered?
I don't know yet. It's a work in progress at the moment.
Hmm. Well, spec will find out.
Yeah, it's an interesting episode so far. I'm going to go with the fact that this will probably help other people because that was kind of the whole point of the podcast. Whatever I learn, I'm sharing it with people, right?
Well, I tend
So,
to think that
yeah,
somebody listening is going to be inspired to go do something or go find something. It doesn't
right.
necessarily have to be exactly what's being said. And looking at that in human design perspectives, for example, 70% of the world's
Mm,
population are either pure generator or manifesting
mm,
generator. And all of that 70%, 7 in 10,
mm,
that's a lot of people, all of that percentage do better with options, even if they don't pick from those options. It
right.
will open the door to the option they want, right? Rather than an open-ended situation. So the way that translates, as far as I can see, is that we are providing options that
Right.
will spark something for that person to then go and choose perhaps a completely different option or perhaps follow up with something that's being said. But we're out here throwing
Mm,
out options to catalyze.
right.
We're acting as catalysts.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh, I don't know how that's going to go, but if you think of Ceridwen again, she's the transitions of the
Mm,
moon. She's all of the phases of the moon.
right.
So that's never ending. It's continuous. Which phase of the moon do you get called by, if any? Like where are you at on that continuum?
Right.
And your options will look different to you depending on that, among other things, right? And your readiness. So yeah, we're just being catalysts.
Mm,
That's the role. That's what we got.
yeah. It's funny because I didn't say much about Moot this episode, but she really doesn't want a lot to be said about her, what she really wants, because the whole point of the spell that she and I did was to open people up to receive from the cosmos. So her just thing over and over again is just let yourself receive. So that's the only message I want to share. We did the spell, that's the work she wanted to do, and now she wants people to know let yourself receive.
I'm getting a lot of caution though.
Mm,
Let me just focus that for a minute.
right.
Choose what you will let yourself
Mm.
receive. It's that choice piece again.
Yes.
It's
Well, and that
not,
follows the theme of the episode.
yeah, it's not a case of just like,
Mm,
hey, I'll receive whatever you want to give me.
right.
That is actually exactly not what to do. Um, choose what you're here for and be really sure you want it.
Right.
Remember my cautionary tale of asking for
Mm,
clarity and then suffering the tortures of the
yeah.
damned as I got it. I sure got it though. I mean, lasting lesson. Thanks. But
Yeah.
I might have preferred that to have been in a more gentle way. I was not specific.
Right. Well, I mean, right? Because season six, just like you and I to help refine each other's thoughts, that's what the spirits are doing. They're refining each other's work.
Mm. Well, to each their time and place,
Mhm.
right?
Right. Because every, like the two spirits that show up, usually their work is complementary to each other or works to facilitate the other person's work, the other spirit's work.
Well, I'm getting a lot of dark mothers coming through,
Right.
and many have three aspects.
Mm,
There's a lot of connection to the moon, which I guess
mm,
goes with being a dark mother. There's magic, witchcraft, connection with nature. Um, Ceridwen is a sorceress with destructive powers, and she's a nurturing mother god.
mm,
Like, there's a lot out there, and it keeps coming up. I think for me, this is symbolic of where we are as a species
right.
right now. Shit is going down. A lot of stuff's getting broken. A lot of
Right.
stuff's going to be destroyed to the ground and beyond. And the biggest question isn't how do we stop it or
Right.
can we go back to something previously? The answer is nope, nope. It's what are you going to rebuild? Where are you? Where is your choice? What is your role? Do you accept it? So, open to receive
Right.
is a path. It's a path to those decisions.
I'll throw this sentence out there. Connect yourself to something that's above the destruction.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you keep yourself within that
Mm,
vibrational level, you can't create above where you are.
right.
So you got to look up. You got to look further than that. For sure. Yeah, that's a really good thing to
Mm.
say. Mhm.
Well, that's what Moot wanted out there.
Yep. That seems really appropriate.
Yeah, because if you don't connect yourself to what's above the destruction, you're going to fall into destruction.
Right. You can't rise above the vibration you're at.
Mm,
That's just going to keep you locked. And I gave a client of mine, I gave her some journaling to consider,
right.
which was we're working with dark mothers. And I asked her to consider what is divine justice? What is it above human rules and laws? What's really out there?
Mm,
And how does it matter to you? I don't mean in a conscious sense so much as when you realize you have a connection to something far more important than the trials and tribulations of, the hologram on Earth,
mm,
then what exactly is it though? What do you perceive that to be? If you look at the biblical God, for example, is a bit of a vengeful,
mm,
hissy fit throwing, rather immature person, really. Oh, you didn't worship me in the right way.
mm,
That's it. I'm going to wipe you all out. Grr, I'm mad at
mm,
you. I'm going to make you blind. I'm going to have you get your legs drop
mm.
off or whatever. Like, he's pretty damn mean, right? There's an
Yeah,
awful lot of stuff going on. Well, is that your level? Is that it? Is that what you perceive? If
yeah,
so, damn, no wonder we're in a mess. But
mm,
if what is it when you go higher than that?
right. You know, there's a thing staying in my mind here. So I don't remember where I saw this. I know it was something I was watching in passing, and it was like probably like a month ago. And there's a character who ends up there's like a cataclysmic thing,
Hmm.
and they have a chance to ascend. This one character had a chance to ascend, but decided not to because he felt in falling, instead of rising,
Hmm.
he still had lessons to learn and didn't want to go ahead of where he was. He didn't want to step ahead of his lesson.
Right.
So he accepted the destruction of his world or whatever and to put himself in the same hell that everyone else was going to because he felt this was something he had to learn. He couldn't just, even though he had the possibility of rising above it, he said, no, I actually need to learn this.
Oh, you could draw comparisons with what you've just said
Mm,
to Jesus
right,
choosing to, you know, keep saying the things he was saying and get himself
right,
into a world of trouble and get pinned up. Um, that was a choice. He didn't have to choose that, but he felt that that was the path that
right,
he needed to choose. That's my understanding. Then we have others that have also chosen to stand up and, speak their truth and get burned at the stake
mm,
or, get whatever is coming forward. And I have no idea where I was even going with that, but it was a comparison with the
right.
choice of to stay with it and do the thing he came to do.
Well, that was the thing, right? So, to my understanding of this character was like this. So this was an antagonistic character that went from being antagonistic to whatever siding with the main characters, the whatever the protagonist. But when he was offered the option to rise, he realized that even if he rose, he couldn't maintain that space. He couldn't move forward in that direction because there were things in him that hadn't been resolved, and he couldn't move forward. So instead of saying, "Oh no, I'm going to take the easy path," he said, "Listen, I can't. I know this will be for nothing if I rise, and I'm not prepared to accept it." Basically, was the message that I understood from it.
Mhm.
So he accepted the damnation because it was like, I need this. This
Same
damnation is my
comparisons.
salvation.
Same comparisons apply.
Yeah.
Think about that. And yeah, people that have gotten into a world of trouble for what they're here to do still went and did it.
Right.
It was a choice. And yeah,
And you know what? I'm going to throw this to play devil's advocate, not devil's advocate, but to give another perspective. Some people are accepting salvation that they didn't earn or have the capacity to receive, or trying to accept salvation that they're not ready for.
I was going to say they might be wanting to accept it, but if the key doesn't fit the lock, it ain't going to
Right.
turn anything.
Yeah.
So it's, you can't force it. Like any of the things that we're working on right now, right at the beginning, I
Right.
said about that whole circling thing that's
Hmm.
happening, just waiting for the opportunity to drop in. And
Right.
there's an awareness that has to be there, and I don't have it yet.
Hmm.
And I'm on the periphery, I know I am, but I can't force it, can't make it happen or be in a certain way. I just gotta wait and it'll happen when it does because things have gotten there naturally, but I can't push it. So when you're doing the kind of work that we do,
Mm.
it's not so much that you're speeding things up or
Mm.
pushing the envelope. It's more that you're tapping into what's there and other people choose to ignore. It's a very different thing, but you can't force anything. We're
Right.
not here to speed up agendas and stuff. Like that's not how that goes.
Right. You know, when you say that, every time you utter those words, that concept, all I feel is the flow getting stronger.
Cool. That's very cool. Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of I'll use the word pulsing right now. That's not the best word for it. It would be like you, so you know when you're saying it's rotating around, it's orbiting kind of a thing. Well, when you say
Uh-huh.
that, it's like I can feel whenever it's close, and then there's kind of like a buildup of energy, and then it goes past again, and then it comes back around and calm, 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 and then it expands again, and then that kind of idea,
Mhm.
that kind of visualization
Yeah.
is happening.
I got that thing going on
Mm.
for a little while now, and
Mm.
it's so close. So close. Now we are also in October where,
Mhm.
the time the veil is thinning between the worlds,
Mm.
the crossroads, the different energies that are. Um, and so all kinds of things shift at this time of year. It's such an interesting time of year.
Yeah.
Oh, and you guys have your Thanksgiving, don't you?
Yep. On Monday.
Again,
We're
interesting
doing
time of
something
year.
tomorrow though. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But today's Saturday. We're recording on a Saturdays for people listening because this is going to be like coming out next week. So, but yeah, no, it is, and like I said, right, I had a very strong sense of October being the kickoff time. I thought at
Mhm.
first it was September, but September was just that in between. Okay, start getting your stuff together, and then October. So yeah, I think that's it. I think we've pretty much dropped what needs to be dropped. What needs to be
Mhm.
said.
I'm good.
Yeah. All right. Um. Yeah, I'm like so in the zone there right now. So once again, I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gaffin Snow.
Until next time.
Until next time.